Struggling to pick between the TCL QM8 and Hisense U8 for your next big screen? You're not alone. These two budget mini LED titans promise incredible picture, but which one truly delivers the knockout punch for your movies, games, and smart home? We've put them head to head to expose the real champion of affordable TV tech. Did you know that mini LED technology can increase contrast ratios by up to 1,000 times compared to traditional LCDs? That's why these budget TVs are turning heads in 2025. In 2025, both TCL and Hisense pushed mini LED performance down into surprisingly affordable price tiers. The TCL QM8 positions itself as the contrast and processing champion, deep blacks, ultra-fast processing, QD mini LED, while the Hisense U8 focuses on raw HDR peak brightness, gaming chops, and all-around value. Which is best depends on your priorities: contrast and cinematic depth TCL versus outright HDR pop and gaming features Hisense. This video guide compares them across every important axis and includes buying advice for different room types, content habits, and budgets. 1. Models covered and what to expect. This guide compares the 2025 TCL QM8 series, also shown as QM8K, QM8K depending on market, against the Hisense U8 series, often U8QG, U8N, U8Q depending on region. These are the mainstream 2025 mini LED offerings from two companies that aggressively undercut legacy premium brands while keeping features like high native refresh rates, local dimming with thousands of zones, Dolby Vision and often Dolby Vision IQ, HDR10+, and advanced game modes. Expect differences in tuning. TCL pushes for deeper blacks and more precise dimming, sometimes at the expense of the maximum HDR peak. Hisense often pushes peak HDR brightness higher and enables higher native refresh options on certain SKUs for gamers. 2. Key technical differences at a glance. Backlight tech. Both are mini LED. TCL uses QD mini LED and a high zone count halo control system. Hisense uses ULED mini LED with aggressive peak brightness tuning. Peak HDR brightness. Hisense U8 family tends to report higher peak nit values in marketing tests. Some models reach extremely high HDR peaks, while TCL advertises HDR 5000, HDR 3800 variants depending on SKU and size. Zone count and halo control. TCL often advertises more precise zone control and better halo suppression. Hisense has improved dramatically but can be tuned to emphasize highlights, which may cause more haloing in some scenes. Panel and refresh. Both offer 120Hz/144Hz panels on many sizes. Select Hisense U8 models offer up to 165Hz in specific SKUs. Gaming. Both have HDMI 2.1 features, VRR, and high refresh support. Hisense sometimes targets gamers more aggressively with 4K at 165Hz marketing. OS. TCL runs Google TV in many markets. Hisense varies between Google TV, Fire TV, or VIDAA depending on region. Price positioning. Both are positioned as value leaders. Street prices fluctuate with region and promotions, but the Hisense often sits a little higher in MSRP in some markets while TCL pushes slightly lower. 3. Design, build and remote. Both TVs keep a modern minimalist aesthetic with thin bezels and a sturdy central or paired feet arrangement depending on size. The Hisense units in 2025 are slightly thicker when housing big audio arrays and larger heat sinks for high brightness. TCL's QM8 models often carry a premium Flourish, Bang & Olufsen tuning on some SKUs and a slightly more polished remote with dedicated Google TV controls. Build quality between the two is comparable. Neither feels fragile, but neither matches the ultra-dense metal chassis of full-price premium models. Cable management and VESA mounting are straightforward on both. 4. Panel, backlight and brightness. Mini LED finally lets LED TVs behave a bit more like OLED in terms of local dimming while retaining the peak brightness advantage of LCD. Differences to note. TCL QM8 uses QD mini LED, Quantum Dot Enhancement Plus mini LED backlight. TCL advertises very high peak HDR numbers on some SKUs and an exceptionally large number of dimming zones. TCL's Halo Control, LD figures. In lab tests by third parties, QM8 shows excellent uniformity and controlled blooming. Hisense U8 emphasizes brute force HDR brightness with marketing numbers that sometimes outpace competitors. Hisense's U8 family is known for scenes that pop in HDR thanks to very high nit peaks and aggressive tone mapping. In well-lit rooms, the Hisense often looks more impressive out of the box because specular highlights and HDR pops are more pronounced. In darker rooms, the TCL's more disciplined zone control tends to produce a less noisy, more cinematic look. 5. Contrast, blooming, and black uniformity. This is where the real practical differences live. Black uniformity, TCL's QM8 usually has an edge. The increased dimming granularity and more conservative boosting of highlights mean deeper apparent blacks and less visible haloing around bright objects. Blooming, Hisense's aggressive highlight boosting can cause slightly wider halos in high-contrast scenes compared to the TCL. That said, Hisense's recent firmware and panel tuning reduced this noticeably versus 2023-2024 models. If you watch movies in a dark room, the TCL will deliver a more OLED-like contrast experience without the risk of burn-in. 6. Color, HDR and tone mapping. Both TVs use QLED, quad dot layers to expand color volume. Differences come down to processing and tone mapping choices. TCL tends to aim for accurate color out of the box when set to filmmaker or calibrated modes, and its processing handles mixed HDR scenes more conservatively, less HDR clipping. TCL also supports Dolby Vision IQ and HDR10 Plus on many SKUs. Hisense, strong HDR pop and vivid color out of the box. Sometimes the TV pushes saturation for marketing wow, which many users love. Hisense's tone mapping can be more aggressive, which helps highlight detail in bright scenes but may crush mid-range detail and certain HDR content and less calibrated. If you plan to calibrate the TV or prefer a more accurate reference picture, TCL is easier to nudge into a neutral target. If you prefer punchy color and instant wow, the Hisense will delight. 7. Motion, refresh rate and gaming features. Both TVs offer modern gaming features, HDMI 2.1 bandwidth, VRR, and high refresh rate modes. Specifics vary by SKU and market. Panel speeds, TCL models typically offer native 120 Hz across many sizes and some SKUs at 144 Hz. Hisense has pushed 144 Hz in selected SKUs up to 165 Hz in 2025. Input lag, both are competitive with single-digit input lag in game modes at 60 Hz and low teens at 120 Hz depending on features enabled. TCL often has slightly lower lag at 120 Hz in lab testing. VRRing sync/FreeSync, both claim broad VRR support. Check the exact model for G-Sync certification if that matters for PC play. Additional game modes, Hisense often ships additional low-latency game presets and may include a built-in game dashboard with performance overlays. The practical takeaway, either is excellent for console and PC gaming. Hisense will appeal to users chasing the highest refresh rates, while TCL is tuned for consistent low-lag performance and stable VRR behavior. 8. Smart TV platform and apps. TCL QM8, Google TV in most markets equals wide app support, Material Design UI, Chromecast built-in, and consistent updates. TCL sometimes ships region-specific variants. Some markets may see Android TV rebrands. Generally, Google TV gives an excellent streaming engine. Hisense U8, region-dependent, Google TV, Fire TV, or Hisense's own VIDAA in various markets. Google TV and Fire TV give excellent app ecosystems. VIDAA is lighter but has improved app availability over the years. If you're tied to a specific smart platform, for example, Fire TV ecosystem, check your region's exact U8 SKU. 9. Audio performance and the built-in speaker fight. These mini LEDs are thicker to accommodate larger speaker systems. Hisense has been shipping a beefy 4.1.2 or similar array in the U8 to help with onboard soundstage and Dolby Atmos effects. TCL sometimes partners with third-party audio brands Bang & Olufsen tuning on selected QM8 SKUs. Neither replaces a soundbar for home cinema enthusiasts, but if you want decent sound without external speakers, the Hisense can be a slightly better out-of-the-box performer. TCL offers richer options with its B&O collaboration on certain models. 10. Ports, tuners and connectivity. Both offer full HDMI 2.1 feature sets on most sizes, at least 2 ports with high bandwidth, eARC support, multiple HDMI inputs, USB ports, and Wi-Fi 6 or 6E on select SKUs. Hisense sometimes includes ATSC 3.0 next-gen TV tuners in US models, and regional broadcast features vary worldwide. Check individual SKU specs for exact HDMI bandwidth, eARC version, and whether all HDMI ports are full 48 gigabits per second or if some are limited. 11. Power, heat and longevity considerations. High peak brightness requires robust backlight driving and heat dissipation. Hisense's HDR pushing models can run hotter under heavy HDR scenes. TCL tends to balance brightness and heat slightly better. Both companies have mature manufacturing and quality control, but long-term reliability of extremely bright LCDs depends on use patterns. Avoid extended static full-screen white scenes at max brightness. Modern TVs have protections, but moderation helps longevity. 12. Price, value and availability. Global and India notes. Street prices in 2025 fluctuate due to promotions. As an example snapshot. US, promotional pricing often puts the Hisense U8 around $997 65 inches during sales, and the TCL QM8 often appears slightly cheaper by $50 $150 on similar sizes depending on retailer promotions. India, Hisense and TCL availability varies by model. Imports and GST affect street price. Both brands distribute aggressively via Flipkart, Amazon India, and local retailers. Hisense U8 variants sometimes sell with attractive festival discounts. TCL regularly discounts QM series TVs. When choosing, watch for seasonal sales. Festival, Black Friday/Cyber Monday, Indian festival seasons. Both models often see meaningful discounts that can change the value equation. 13. Real-world viewing test. Movies, sports, daylight rooms. Movies. Dark room. TCL QM8 wins for cinematic blacks and minimal haloing. If you watch cinema in the dark, TCL gives more natural filmic contrast. Sports and bright rooms. Hisense U8's higher peak brightness makes highlights and glare-penetrating scenes more legible and impressive under daylight. Sports with specular highlights and reflections benefit. HDR demos. For HDR content with bright sun, explosions or specular highlights, Hisense tends to deliver a larger immediate wow. For nuanced HDR grading and shadow detail, TCL tends to preserve intent. 14. Gaming deep dive. Latency, VRR, consoles plus PC. Consoles, both handle PS5 and Xbox Series X well. If you prioritize 4K at 120 with stable VRR for fast shooters, TCL's consistent 120Hz behavior may be preferable. If you want the absolute highest refresh rate or 4K at 144 plus to match a high-end PC GPU, look at specific Hisense SKUs that offer 144 165ths of a Hertz. PC, check G-Sync/FreeSync certification and HDMI VRR behavior at 4K/120. TCL's processing often keeps frame pacing smooth, while Hisense's higher peak brightness helps in HDR PC content. 15. Calibration tips to get the best picture. 1. Start with filmmaker mode or calibrated picture preset. 2. Turn off aggressive dynamic contrast or local contrast features, they can crush shadow detail. 3. Disable any energy-saving ambient sensors that throttle brightness if you want consistent HDR results. 4. Lower peak brightness or enable auto-local dimming tweaks if haloing becomes distracting on the Hisense. 5. For gamers, enable game mode to minimize input lag, activate VRR when your console/PC supports it. Professional calibration unlocks the last 10 to 15% for both sets. 16. Troubleshooting and known quirks. Hisense, some users report occasional overeager HDR tone mapping or subwoofer distortion at extreme volumes. Firmware updates have addressed many issues. Keep firmware current. TCL, early batches sometimes ship with slightly aggressive motion interpolation defaults. Turn off MMC if you dislike the soap opera effect. Both brands push firmware updates. Check release notes for fixes and important HDMI/VRR updates. 17. Which to buy? Use case-based verdicts. Darkroom film watcher cinema fans, buy TCL QM8. Bright room, sports, HDR wow seekers, buy Hisense U8. Competitive gamers 120Hz stable VRR plus low lag, slight edge to TCL QM8 for consistent behavior, but Hisense if you want higher refresh ceilings 165Hz and aggressive gaming modes. Best value with minimal fuss, compare sale prices. Sometimes Hisense at discount beats TCL, other times QM8 has a better sale price and thus better all-round value. 18. Accessories and recommended setups. Soundbar, A3.1 or 3.1.2 Dolby Atmos soundbar ER compatible improves both dramatically. For TCL B&O models, you may still want external sub for deep bass. Calibration tools, even a DIY calibration from a CalMan-like pattern or a basic colorimeter brings big gains. Mounting, use a low-profile mount for living rooms. These sets are heavy in larger sizes because of the backlight and speaker assemblies. 19. Future-proofing and who might skip both. Skip both if you want true infinite contrast or perfect viewing angles. OLED still has advantages there. Also skip if you need the absolute top of the line in build finish or prefer a particular streaming OS exclusive to other brands. But for shoppers wanting a near-premium image at value pricing, these two are among the best 2025 options. 20. Conclusion. So which TV is the better buy overall? The TCL QM8 and Hisense U8 are both excellent choices, but they cater to slightly different needs. The QM8 is a great choice for those who prioritize picture quality and a more affordable price, while the U8 is better suited for those who want the best possible brightness and HDR support. Ultimately, the decision comes down to your individual needs and preferences. If you're interested in learning more about these TVs or other tech reviews, be sure to check out my channel for more content. I'd love to hear your thoughts on these TVs in the comments. Do you have a preference between the QM8 and U8? Also, if you're considering purchasing one of these TVs, I'd love to hear about your experience with them. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.